We didn't talk about money much as a family when I was growing up. The most we talked about money was my parents would take me to the bank in England to put £2 into my savings account.
Nice.
And that was sort of the most we ever talked about money. They didn't talk about their bills. They didn't talk about any of the sort of challenges they were going through. Certainly never talked about investing.
Frances Cook, a leading voice in money, media, and award-winning podcast. From her work as a financial journalist and author of best-selling finance books to hosting the top-rated Making Sense podcast, Frances has helped thousands of Kiwis feel more confident with their cash.
What's the biggest money mistake?
Do you know, I think the biggest money mistake for me.
This podcast is brought to you by Ethos Mortgages. If you're looking to buy your first home, next home, or even an investment property, make sure you reach out to Ethos Mortgages at ethosmortgages.co.nz. We'll have a link below as well. Just a quick note, this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. If you need financial advice, please make sure you contact a financial advisor to get professional advice. Frances Cook, welcome to the Fresh Moni podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
Let's start from the beginning. Like I've been following you for a long time, listening to all your financial updates. It's been extremely informative. But whereabouts did you grow up? Tell me a bit about where you come from.
So first 8 years of my life, I was in a tiny little town that nobody has heard of in England. So my mum is English, my dad is a New Zealander. So started out first 8 years of my life in a tiny little place called Hexhamshire. Which now my husband likes to say I'm a hobbit from the Shire.
What part of England is that?
So that's kind of near Newcastle. So have you ever watched
like
Geordie
Geordie?
Shore?
Yeah.
Those are my people. The big
The
hair, the
Geordies.
fake tans, the trashy drinking. Those are my people.
Nice. That's awesome.
So yeah, that was the first 8 years of my life. And then we moved out to New Zealand. In a very failed attempt to save my parents' marriage. Didn't work, but I ended up in New Zealand, so I'm quite happy about it. So yeah, I've been someone who bounced around a bit as a kid. I was in England, I was in New Plymouth, moved to Auckland. So yeah, a little bit of instability in the childhood, but it keeps things fresh.
Yeah. And whereabouts are you based now? Like, because for some reason I thought you were in Wellington.
Yeah, I was for years.
Yeah.
So I have kept bouncing around as an adult. Hopefully all done on that now. I am these days based in Te Awamutu, centre of the universe.
Nice.
Yeah. And I love it. It's really funny because I have some sort of friends or extended family who'll be like, oh, are you still happy out there? And they're like very concerned. Yeah. Whereas I see it as this enormous privilege that I have built my career to a point where I'm able to not be in Auckland because any sort of media career, it's easier if you're in Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch. Right. I feel so lucky that I live next to horses and I get to be in a little town and do most of my work from home, and I'm at best in Auckland every couple of weeks. Nice. I feel so lucky.
So growing up, moving around, did your parents talk to you about money at all? Like, where did that has that always been a thing for you, or you've had to learn that?
Yeah, I absolutely had to learn it. My parents did a fabulous job raising me. I just want to put that out there. But everyone misses things, right? And it's this thing I always say to myself now that I'm a parent myself is we all mess up our children in our own unique ways. We do the best we can. And then it's on our kids as they grow up to fix the things we missed. We didn't talk about money much as a family when I was growing up. And also now, people will say, oh, you run a business. Did you always want to run a business? No. In fact, I very categorically never saw myself as a business owner. I quite emphatically saw myself as not a business owner. So it's funny where I've ended up.
That's crazy.
I think the most we talked about money was we did, and this was a brilliant idea, my parents would take me to the bank in England sort of roughly, my memory is once a week. It might have been more or less than that. I was a kid, so time is a funny thing when you're a kid. But I think it was once a week, took me to the bank to put £2 into my savings account to sort of instill that, like, you should be saving money. Yeah. And that was sort of the most we ever talked about money. They didn't talk about their bills. They didn't talk about any of the sort of challenges they were going through. Certainly never talked about investing or if there was a windfall at work. Never really talked about any of that stuff. But I will say that going into the bank, doing that physical drop-off of the money is something I often recommend to people now because kids do connect with money differently when it's physical.
Yes.
So I think they really nailed it on that front. I just wish I'd known and had more insight into their financial lives as well. Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think those initial things, like, I remember that, like, I think someone from Postbank, I'm showing my age, would come around to the school every week and you would put money and you'd get a little passbook and it'd update it.
Yeah. That's a classic one.
Yeah. So I think there are some of those early behaviours that the banks in the past have tried to instill that have made you think, hey, maybe this is something I should be learning about or becoming more aware of.
Yeah, you at least get that sort of passing awareness of money and that you should be doing something with it and you should be looking after it. And even just that little thought can be what triggers you to go down and look into stuff more later. Because people always say to me, oh, I wish we learned about this in school. Yeah. And I totally get that.
Yes.
I also think some schools do teach it and we're not paying attention because we're kids and we don't care.
That's right. My wife's a teacher.
Yeah.
And she's like, Willie, we do teach this.
Yeah, there
and
we go.
I thought so. They probably taught it when I was there.
Right? And the beautiful thing about now is we have the whole internet. We have podcasts like yours. Yep. We have, all of this. There is free information out there. The trick is making sure it's good information.
Yes.
You do have to vet stuff quite carefully. But we have this whole wide world of information available to us. So, okay, we all miss things. Now it's on us to go and figure it out and find it out.
Yeah, cool. So how did you get into or start your career in journalism and then transition over to kind of the money expert?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I loved journalism. I had such a fun time. Now, I call myself an independent financial journalist now, but it's so different from when I was in the newsrooms and really on the front lines and chasing those headlines. It's a great career for when you're in your 20s.
Yeah, cool.
Because you get to meet all sorts of interesting people, do all sorts of interesting things. You get into rooms you can't get into otherwise. And you're just allowed to ask questions. Everyone just lets you ask very intrusive questions and you learn all sorts of interesting things. Pay is terrible. So that's why I say it's great for your 20s. You'll get a whole bunch of life experience and then you'll be like, oh, I need to have children and buy a house. So maybe this isn't for me anymore. But I started out in journalism. I started in radio.
Okay.
So audio has always been my first love. So it's no real surprise that I ended up on podcasts. Started in radio, was just a general news reporter, did anything and everything. Radio is such a massive beast because you have an hourly news bulletin and they don't use the same story over and over again. You will often do like one interview and you have to turn that into at least 3 different stories for each of those hourly bulletins. Now they're short, but you have to have different versions. So it's really good at making you see different angles on a story, different ways of presenting it, different ways of keeping it interesting and fresh. It really... it's a brutal training ground of work fast, be accurate, be interesting, and you've just done it, now on to the next. There's absolutely no downtime. So radio is a massive, awesome traiing ground.
Yeah, and I suppose that's kind of paved the way for your career now, eh?
Totally.
Like you've got all that experience and behaviours behind you that you don't even think about now. I'm like, actually, I can turn this into 3 pieces of content.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like imagine, I do a really interesting interview and I'm like, I want to tell people about that on my TikTok. I can turn that into 3 different videos and it's just an automatic sort of thing for me. So it's funny how you repurpose those skills. Started out as just a general news journalist, went into crime, loved that, court reporting, so reporting from the high courts, even the Court of Appeal. Like the Court of Appeal is very fancy and you have to, really, like the only people I've ever felt intimidated by, I've met a lot of famous people, which was really fun. Haven't ever really felt starstruck, but I have felt intimidated by judges. There is something about the gravitas of a judge, particularly if we're talking Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. Those people are intimidating and very fancy. So that was really fun. For a while, I did crime reporting for a few years, and I can very clearly remember the moment where I was like, "Ooh, time for a career pivot." Because you're on the sidelines of the worst day of people's lives for like every single day, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, you can keep that distance and be like, I'm a professional. They don't need me crying on them. That's not going to help them. but, you know, it does still
over time,
seep in.
yes.
Yeah, over time, it's like it wears you down over time.
Because we're humans.
Yeah.
And we feel for people who are going
Yeah.
through difficult situations. Yeah.
And I feel like you wouldn't be doing your job if you didn't take on some of the emotional side of it, because you wouldn't be fully understanding what's gone on. Went into politics from there. Loved politics.
Yeah,
Again,
cool.
a real rush.
Yep.
You feel like you're right in the middle of the action. You feel like you're watching really important things happening and you're telling people about it. But again, when it starts to get you on that personal level, you get so used to being lied to constantly over nothing.
Oh my goodness, that's
over
crazy.
nothing. Like the worst, dumbest
Really?
lies over nothing. Like you'd literally be talking to someone and they'd say they'd signed something in pen and you'd be like, but was it pencil? You know, because you're so used to being lied to about everything that you're just like, nothing is taken for granted.
Wow.
And it's really hard to switch that off. And I found myself in my personal life becoming more cynical and I didn't like that. Like it was needed to become good at the job. You can either become a fax machine and just put out whatever they tell you, or you become cynical about everything. There's really no in between for surviving political reporting. And I felt myself becoming cynical and not very nice. And I was like, okay, this has been fun. I'm done. What next?
Yeah.
And at that point, I was 28, I think. Had a few pay rises, doing okay in the career, and feeling like, why am I not feeling more financially secure? Why is my career is going great? I'm not financially secure. I feel like I might be the problem here. Started listening to some more financial podcasts. At that point, there weren't any New Zealand-based ones. There was only these American ones. They're talking about 401ks and things. And I'm like, I feel like this is good stuff. I'm not sure how much of it applies to New Zealand.
Yeah, it's not relevant.
Right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, journalism, boil it down. It's go out, find something you didn't know about before, tell people about it.
True.
So why don't I do that with money, learn about it on work time, and hopefully we'll be good. And that was the beginning of everything.
Oh, wow.
I got the bug. I've never found finance turning me into a dickhead the way the other ones did. So there we go. I'm still here and enjoying it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Tell us, so where did you have a podcast straight away? Did you just start writing articles? Right.
I knew I wanted it to be based in a podcast. I would also do articles from that. So it started out with, I talked to my work and said, I really want to do a podcast. At that point, there were no dedicated podcasts. They had sort of radio replay podcasts. And so I was like, I know I really want to do a podcast on this. It'll be for people who don't know anything about money. Me.
It's the best way to learn, right? Is to kind of teach about it.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't know, teach. And so they said, yep, that sounds really great, but we also want you to produce all of this other news. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to say you can use our studios and things, but it's going to be in your own time. So I would go in on my day off or my weekends. I'd be like taking calls and like organizing interviews and then coming in early in my like gym gear and recording an interview, going back home, getting ready for work, coming in to do actual work, and it was
all this extra stuff, which wasn't your job.
No, it was just a massive passion project. I didn't actually even see it like now with the benefit of hindsight. I'm like, it was so needed. Personal finance content is always really popular. Like that was a great career move. I didn't know that at that time. I didn't know it was such a good space to be in. I just really wanted to do it, which I think helped get through the first couple of years. It was just me just spinning my wheels and finding out stuff I wanted to know,
just you talking on.
Because I'd been in radio for so long. Like now I'm so lucky, I have this wonderful team of women who I work with.
Oh, nice.
I have a audio engineer. I have a video editor.
Wow.
I have a graphic designer who helps me with some of the other stuff. All these things that they do a beautiful job on to help me behind the scenes, and they're better than me. But when I started out, I'd been in radio for years. I could chop up audio. I could do a bad, probably, job at layering audio and doing, things like the music intro and stuff. I could layer that all up. Now the woman I work with is so much better, but I could get it done. And so it was very just good good is better than
It was-
perfect.
it was good
Done
enough.
is better than perfect.
Yeah.
And, some of those early episodes, people would message me years later and be like, oh, I've gone back to the beginning and I'm listening to the podcast from the beginning. And I'm like, please don't. It's so bad. But you have to start.
You have to start. It's a humbling place to start, eh? But it's almost, if you can be that humble to even start, that's where it all, obviously it's where it all begins, and you can build from there.
Yeah, you've got to. I think this is a big lesson for me in life: is you've got to suck at something before you're good at it. And I had a lot of radio background, so I didn't fully suck. I'm not going to be like fake humble. But it was not as good as it could have been. Yeah. And the standards I have now, I'm always trying to elevate it. I'm always trying to make it better. But the standards I have now are so much higher than. But I'm like, you just have to be bad at something before you can be good. Like now I'm trying to do YouTube.
I love that.
Video is not my natural home.
Yeah.
But I've got to be bad at it before I can be good. And it's not terrible. It could be better. Yeah. But you've got to go, right? You've got to do it.
You've got to give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. I love that. You've got to be bad at something to one day become good at it.
Totally.
Yeah, I love it. Did you ever think it would become what it has become now? Like this financial voice, this success, like I see your face everywhere. Which is cool. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever think it was going to be like this?
No, I honestly just thought it was like a bit of fun and that maybe I'd stick with it for a year or two and then do something else. And it just really got the bug in terms of I really enjoy getting under the skin of things. Yeah. And there's always so much more to learn about the money world because I try to help people with their entire sort of money life. So that is your money mentality, that's budgeting, that's investing, that's your job even, so there's actually a huge number of areas, right?
Sectors to it, yeah.
Yeah, and I've ended up being someone who goes quite wide. There are people who specialize in investments or property or whatever, but I've gone quite wide. I'm like, I want to be the place you can come to get a good overview of how it all works together. So that's really kept it interesting for me and fresh. If I'm getting bored of one area, well, let's do a different one.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think as well in terms of the feedback you get and the very real impact it has on people's lives. I'll have people message me at least once a week, sometimes more, being like, I just bought my first home.
Whoa.
And it's because you helped me understand this and I never thought I'd get my first home. Or
that's so cool.
I just started investing and the share market has always scared me, but now I get it and it's not so intimidating and actually this isn't hard. And I just...
That's gold.
Lights me up. Or, I finally had the courage to ask my boss for a raise and I used the script that you gave.
Oh, no way.
And they said yes. And we're going out to the movies with the kids tonight because we can afford to. And it's just, like, this has a real tangible impact on people's lives and getting those messages. I'm like, I can't stop because this is massive for people's lives. Money itself isn't important, but it impacts everything that is. Yep. And if I can help someone find more security for their family or feel less stressed about money, achieve these life goals, it's addictive. Yeah. Knowing that you're making that impact.
Yeah, you're doing so much good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's
massive.
Awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about cooking the books and leaving NZME without getting yourself in trouble.
Yes.
Without
getting lawyer letters. Yeah. Had a couple.
Yeah. So you built that up from nothing to become this massive podcast. What was it like leaving that, and why did you leave?
So I had been unhappy probably at NZME for a few years, ups and downs, right? But had felt constrained, had seen the company going in certain directions that didn't make sense to me, had seen them not treating people so great, didn't love it. And I had really only stayed because of Cooking the Books, because I loved that podcast so much. I loved what it achieved for people. And I knew that there was this underlying tension of who owned it, that we had a disagreement over who owned it. Because I'd started it in my spare time, right? Yep. And they'd said, yep, that's fine, you can do it. We won't stop you, but you're not doing it on work time. So to me, that's my project.
Yeah, totally.
But we'd never written anything down. which, let's be honest, dumb from me, really dumb. I didn't know it would get so big.
Yeah.
And my boss had changed several times since then. So those original conversations we'd had lost to the mists of time. So really hard to prove that we'd had those conversations, that it was mine.
Yeah.
Gone. And they'd said, oh, we'll let you put it out on our channels. So I'm getting a little technical nitty-gritty on podcasts, but for anyone who's listening and doesn't know how podcasts work, I'm sure you do.
Well, I think I pretend to anyway.
Yeah. As we wing it
So
through
please
this.
explain it for our listeners.
Yes.
Not just me.
The number of times I've used that line. Yeah, definitely not for me, but for our listeners.
Yeah, for everyone else who wants to know.
The RSS feed is what's valuable for a podcast. So that is what people subscribe to. That is how episodes come out. That is the heart and soul of a podcast, is the RSS feed. All of the title, the artwork, all that stuff doesn't matter. You have the RSS feed. That means you've got control of your listeners. That is the show.
Ah, I see.
So they physically had control of that because they'd said, we'll help you out by putting it out on our channels, like iHeartRadio and stuff. So even if I said, well, I own it, they would still have to give it back to me. It's the old thing, ownership is 9/10 of the law, right? So they had physical control of it. So I knew there was this tension of who thought who owned it.
Okay.
And I knew that if it came to a fight, I didn't actually have the keys to the city. And so I'd been sticking around for a while, and then we had this issue where I was coming up for maternity leave for my second baby. And we'd had conversations. Baby was due in May. We'd had conversations all the way back in November.
Yep.
Here's the plan. Here's how we keep the podcast going. Yeah. I'd been recording all these extra episodes. I'd been really putting myself through the ringer.
You've been setting it up.
Yeah. And
for
then
that leave.
Yeah. All of a sudden in February, maybe? No, after February. Maybe March. But getting too close to maternity leave to do anything about it and thinking that we were on track to this, all of a sudden, no, that's not good enough. We're bringing in another host. Like hell you are. That is named after me. That is mine. And I literally said to them, I was like, that's a red line. Please don't cross it. Like, I'm not someone who throws my toys. I really pride myself on working with people, on understanding the boss's point of view, bringing solutions, not problems. And so I was like, that's
having
a red line.
Win-win.
Totally.
Yeah, having a win-win. Yep.
I was like, I've got the content. This isn't going to impact what you can charge for ads. I don't care that you can charge for ads. It's mine, but you can make money off it. You pay me a salary. That's fine. No.
Wow.
It was this absolute impasse. And I said, I really mean it. Please don't push this. I will quit over this. And so I ended up very sadly quitting 2 weeks after my baby was born. I was literally fielding emails from them while I was in the birth center with my newborn, but you're only in the birth center for 2 days.
Oh my
I was in the birth center with my newborn baby trying to recover and fielding emails about the future of my job. And I just was like, this is disgusting.
Insane.
It was awful. It was so awful. And I knew, like, me and my husband only planned to have 2 babies. We don't want to jinx things and have a little whoopsie by speaking things into existence, but we only planned to have 2. If you see me have a third, you'll know what happened. Oopsie daisies.
I'll be calling. I'll be messaging.
We're like, that was an accident, huh? Yep.
If you're serious about buying your first home, make sure you check out the First Home Buyers Masterclass. In this masterclass, we take you through the whole home buying journey, from getting pre-approved, finding your property, to settling. This will take out a lot of the confusion and make your home buying journey a lot easier. Make sure you check out the link below for our masterclass.
So we only planned to have 2, and I'd really wanted to just embrace the baby bubble. And here I was, quitting my job as the main earner in my family. I earned more than my husband at that point. Quitting my job and being like, ugh, what am I going to do now?
Whoa.
Because I just wasn't willing to be treated like that.
Yeah.
That was just too
was it.
far. I couldn't
Yeah.
have respected myself if I'd stayed in that situation. And I do wonder if they thought I only wrote about FU money because everything I write about, I also do.
Yeah.
So I had enough saved up that I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I've got a
wow.
few months. I've got a few months of time
Okay.
where I can figure things out. And so I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
So I'm going to launch a new podcast. I'm going to do it myself this time.
Yep.
There's going to be absolutely nobody who can take this from me.
Yes.
And so baby born in May. Baby's first business meeting was about 2 months old. I was walking around with my baby strapped to my chest to keep him asleep. As
So
I'm
this
like,
was last year, eh?
last year.
Wow.
As I'm like pacing up and down a hallway to keep him asleep, on the phone to people being like, hey, so how could we do this? How could this work?
Wow.
And launched a new podcast, the Making Sense podcast, which is my new baby, and I love it so much, and nobody will ever take it from me.
Yes, that is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And well done. Like, I think, when someone crosses your values, like, of essentially, because they form who you are.
Totally.
And they're one of your greatest, when I talk about wealth, they form a part of that wealth.
Totally.
And they are breaking that.
Yeah.
When you have had conversations, if you step over that line, you're breaking my value
Totally.
and taking a piece of my wealth with you.
Totally.
Yeah. So
Totally.
good on you for starting afresh. And I listen to Making Sense all the time.
Oh, cool.
So it's awesome. In terms of business, right? Because
Yeah.
you're starting a new business. That's scary. Like
Terrifying.
like what you did is not normal, right? Like not everyone is going, you break my values, I'm going to go and start my own thing.
I'll do this
Like,
all by myself.
Yeah. Like no one, well, it should be
It's
more
hard.
normal.
It's intimidating.
Because, it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know, I genuinely, I think one of the things that had held me back for so long, I'd known for a long time how much money Cooking the Books made for the company. It was making more for them than my salary was costing. They were fine. But I think what made it such a red line for me, I was like, my audience trusts me. This isn't just something where we just shove personal finance information down their throat. They're trusting me to guide them through this. I have built a very close relationship with my audience. You can't just shove anyone in there and then expect me to pick up the pieces after they potentially do a bad job. They didn't even know who they wanted to replace me. They were just like, just someone. And I'm like, what do you mean? And so I just
because humans deal with humans.
Exactly.
Right? It's people.
Yeah.
And when you forget that it's people dealing with people
Yes.
telling their stories, people kind of
trust
explaining
that.
things,
Yeah.
and they understand how you explain it is different to how I would explain things.
Totally.
And they trust your kind of way and voice and tone and everything, right?
Yeah. And I'm so careful about the guests I bring in.
Yeah.
I'm so careful about the topics, how we approach them. We approach them in a very specific way.
Yeah, cool.
I'm just like, you have no plan. You don't know who it's going to be. There's no time for me to do a handover with them. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You can't just treat my audience like this. They trust me. And I'm not going to break that trust just because you've told me I have to. No, I don't. But yeah, so that was, I very specifically did not think of myself as a business owner. The business side of things was what really scared me about going out on my own. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to find sponsors. I'm going to have to figure out how to monetize. I'm going to have to figure out how to communicate that to the audience so that they know they can still trust me.
You are now the CEO.
Yeah, I'm going to have to file taxes. Oh God, taxes.
Provisional tax, everything. Yeah. Wow. Well, what's been the hardest part of starting your own business?
Do you know what? I thought it was going to be the commercial side of it. What I was, that turned out to be actually fine.
That's great.
Right?
That's great.
I was really pleased with myself on that. I think because I was so concerned that I thought about it a lot. And so I really came up with a good model that I was pleased with. So I approached some businesses that I respected their work.
Right.
I knew they wanted access to an audience like mine. I was like, I think we've got a real win-win here where you provide really good services. I'm so comfortable recommending you. I know you do good stuff. And this is my audience. I can show you all the stats from my Instagram, from my TikTok. This is exactly who's listening.
I love that.
and you're getting access to this really valuable group of people who are ready to make decisions with their money. You know?
Awesome.
So it ended up being a really good meshing. The hard bit, and I knew this was going to be hard, but I potentially underestimated it, is how hard it is to just fully start over. You know, to build something from the ground up again and reach out to it's been almost a year now.
Wow.
Well, since I quit cooking the books anyway, it's been 6 months-ish of making sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like I've been like deep in this. I'm like, sweet, the new podcast getting established. And I literally 2 weeks ago had a message from someone being like, hey, what happened to cooking the books? What are you doing now? And I'm like, oh my God, all I post about is making sense.
What am I doing now? Yeah. All of this.
And so it's, you know, people have such busy lives.
Yeah.
They're really busy with their own stuff. And so they just don't see it pop up on their podcast feed anymore.
True.
And they don't know.
I forget that. Yep.
And they're just like, where'd she get to? You know? And so just finding ways to reach out to those people that you had and be like, hey, FYI, we're doing something new now. Building that audience again, showing them what you're doing. And of course, making sense is slightly different because I have full total control now.
Yeah.
I can
How does that feel like?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. That I can, you know, I've started doing more live sessions where I'll answer people's questions live. So fun.
Yeah, I've noticed
so
that.
Great.
I'm so scared of doing that.
Oh, I know. It really keeps you on your toes. You know what? I kind of love it for the adrenaline rush of like people will send me these questions. I got one last night on a live where they asked me a really nitty-gritty question about gold, where they were like, is it better to invest in gold through ETFs or bullion? And I'm like, mate, I got to tell you, I'm going to have to find you an expert to answer that because I can tell you a bit about gold. I can't tell you that level. Yeah, but it keeps you on your toes and you can have that real honest conversation where I'll just say on the live, you know what? I don't have the level of expertise to answer that for you off the top of my head, but how many people are interested in that? Send me a message, and then I know from like if I get 10, 20 messages, I know people are super keen, and I need to organize a proper episode with a proper expert, you know?
Nice. So you're actually
it's really fun.
Yeah, gathering information on what they actually want to learn about. Yeah, that's great.
It's this really, like, I've always had a close relationship with my audience. That's why I think I've got the bug so much for this.
Cool.
Where it's a real back and forth of what do you need? How can I give it to you? You know, how can I help? But to be able to take things on now and be fully independent, it's gone next level of how close it can get. So that's so good. It's really fun.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who's planning to go solo, go out on their own, and start their own business, media business?
Try not to burn bridges on your way out. There's a certain media company who I'm pretty sure will never hire me for anything ever again.
Good top tip. Top tip. I'll write that down.
But I will say every other media company has been really keen to have me freelance for them, so I'm not too sad.
That's so cool. That's really cool.
Actually, you know what? The support from others in the industry has been incredible. I had so many people proactively reach out to me and be like, that sounded like a terrible situation. Wow. By the way, would you like to do this work for us? And it's
that's amazing.
So nice having that level of support from people who get it, who get how cutthroat things can be. Like, that sounded terrible. Want a hand?
Yeah.
Yes, please. That's so nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I think my top tip would be actually, if we take the serious view of everything I just said, is it always comes back to people. And I think that's the big thing that's been the through line in my work is it comes down to people, not just in terms of your listeners. Like, I'm obsessed with how I can help them out, you know, and what do they need from me now? What's going on? And what do they need me to make simple for them to just cut through the noise and be like, yeah, okay, there's a lot of yatta going on. This is what you actually need to know. And the other side of it is when you're working with people, whether it's a sponsor, whether it's a media company, whether it's whatever, because I do a lot of commentary still. You know, all the tariff situation exploded and I got like 5 media requests in a day. I'm like, right, yep, no, cool. Wow. I can balance all these, but you're going to have to like form an orderly queue, you know? Wow. But dealing with people respectfully and trying to understand their point of view, even when you're always going to be coming at things from different angles, but trying to understand where other people are coming from, being respectful in how you deal with them, building good relationships when things go tits up, as they did.
and they can, right? For anyone. Yep.
Yeah. You know, it was all of those other relationships I had of people who were like, we know you're solid. We know you've got a good work ethic. We know you don't throw your toys.
Yep.
For this to have happened, it must have been so bad.
Yeah.
How can we help? It was really validating. And I have to be careful when I talk about it because I get emotional. I don't like getting emotional on camera. I'm very British sometimes. But it was amazing having that just wraparound of love from my listeners, from my social media audience, from other people in the industry, people who were just like, how can we help?
Yeah.
So it all comes back to people. And I think the moment you forget that, you're done, you know?
It's so good. So good. Let's talk finances.
Yes.
Because I'm here with the expert. Personally, you've been open about being a financial mess in your early 20s. Was it an easy thing to come out and talk about that publicly?
Yeah, do you know what? At that point, it's really easy to forget how many people are listening. So, you know, my very first foray into radio was student radio. And I was like, I don't know, like 2 people are listening and one's my mum, you know? Like,
thanks, Mum.
Yeah. So that made it really easy to like not feel nervous. And then I went to Radio Live, RIP, no longer in existence. And I was like, okay, quite a few more people are listening, but still it's not the biggest radio station in the world. Not that scary. And then I went to News Talk ZB, #1 radio station in the country.
Wow.
But I still carried that mentality of like, how many people are listening? Who cares? And so that's always been my trick to confidence. Like right now talking, I'm like, oh, we're just chatting.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure you have a brilliant audience. I've seen you doing really well. I'm sure you're killing it. But to me right now, it's you and me chatting. And I'm not thinking about anyone listening. So I wrote a whole book about everything I'd ever screwed up with money and was like, yeah, tales from a financial hot mess. Lol. What an idiot. And laid bare all this stuff. And my mum read the draft of it and she was like, are you sure you want to be quite this
Talk
open?
about this.
And I was like, Mum, you're either in or you're out. So, you know, if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to tell everything. And then it comes out and it was a bestseller and everyone knows my business. And I'm like, oh, yeah, quite a few people read that.
Oh, no way. That's crazy.
But I think it's the only way you can talk about this stuff publicly is just be like, let's see how we go and not really fully think about it. And I'm so often in Tiaramutu where I just bump into people. They're the people at my kids' daycare. They're my mum's neighbors.
So good.
That's like, you know, I bump into people there and they're like, oh, we listened to the podcast. I'm like, Mum probably told you to. But, you know, I bump into people. I come up to Auckland to do something like this with you and someone stops me on the street and they're like, love the podcast. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like,
so good.
There's so many strangers out there listening and that's really beautiful, but I totally forget it. And I think that's key to actually being able to do it.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. In terms of your own kind of, we've all made like money mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
What's the biggest money mistake that comes to mind?
Oh, that's a good one. Do you know, I think the biggest money mistake for me isn't necessarily something I did with my money. Although it did impact all my money decisions, but it was a mindset thing. And I know when we talk mindset, it can be super woo-y. It can be really like, okay, I have actual problems. Don't talk to me about mindset stuff. But I think the key to overcoming problems is actually often fixing mindset first. I'm sorry, I'm not going to tell you to charge your crystals by the moon. This is as woo as I get. Mindset is important though. And the mindset was, that's just not for people like me, you know? And that impacted a lot. It stopped me even investigating certain things. You know, I not only didn't want to become a business owner, I was like, that's not for people like me. I hate spreadsheets. I hate taxes. That's not for people like me. Actually, I'm really good as a business owner and I have someone else who does the spreadsheet and the taxes and we're fine. You can outsource.
Yeah.
You can outsource. It's fine. But, you know, a long time ago now. I've been investing in shares for a long time now, but for a long time, shares investing was like, that's not for people like me.
Yeah.
And I never even looked into it. Now,
so
actually,
people in suits with heaps of money.
Exactly. It's for those rich dudes, those rich white dudes often, you know? It's a Google shares investor and it's a bunch of 40-year-old white dudes in suits. I was like, that's not for me. Whereas actually, $5 a week into a shares account, it can be just as simple as something like a global index fund. And you're done, you're sorted, you chuck it in, you carry on with your life. You're not looking at profit and loss statements. You don't need to. And you're building your wealth, and it's so brilliant for you. And so, that mindset will stop you even investigating the things that can level you up. You'll miss all this low-hanging fruit that no matter, even if you're quite a low earner, even if you're like, don't feel like you're great with money, if you have that feeling of that's not for people like me, there's low-hanging fruit that could improve your life and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
So that was the big mistake for me.
Yeah. That's amazing. Because when you have that mindset, you cancel out possibilities.
Exactly. That's such a better way of putting it. I'm going to steal that phrase for future.
You have it.
Thank you.
But you cancel out different alternative futures for yourself, right? Like, I want that wealthy looking kind of future, but that's just not for someone like me, right?
Exactly.
Cancelled it already.
And why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Why should other people who look different from you get all the good stuff? Why should everyone else be getting it? Yes, it can be for you. What are you going to do? What's the first little step you can do this week? It doesn't have to be the big silver bullet. We're always looking for the silver bullet. You don't need one. What's the little step you can do this week? Can you put $5 into a savings account, turn it into an auto payment? Can you put $5 into an investing account? Turn it into an auto payment. Can you say to your boss, I'd love to talk to you about a pay rise. What can I do to be more valuable for you so that you're comfortable giving me a pay rise? What can you do this week to make a difference and start making those goals for someone like you? Because why should everyone else get the good stuff?
Yeah, so true.
I'll get really passionate about this.
I love it. You're speaking my language.
Good.
We're almost run out of time, but kind of one of my final questions is, what's the future? What does the future look for Francis Cook and for Making Sense and your business? Yeah, what's the vision?
Right now, it's solidifying. I think that's my word of the year, is just solidifying. So it was a real flying start with, my baby's not even 1 yet.
Oh, wow.
Good grief. My husband jumped in and went on parental leave so that I could do the work from home. He's the best.
Yeah,
I will
so
say
cool.
to any woman listening to this, men too, but especially women, one of the biggest life decisions and even money decisions you'll ever make is who you partner with in life. Find someone who elevates you, who is on your team, who is like, wow, shit just hit the fan. What are we doing, babe?
Yes.
We're doing that? Let's go. Balls to the wall.
So
Good.
I
hope I'm allowed to swear on this. I just did several
Go for it.
things that we would bleep from my time in radio. But so he jumped into parental leave. I started doing the work from home. We're trying to balance everything. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. So I think now, the business is up and running.
Yep.
I've got sort of a roadmap ahead. The baby is finally sleeping through the night. And so we're getting to that point where I'm like, right, how do we solidify this? How do we make this more than just a podcast that exists? How is this the number one?
Yeah,
because love you, love your work.
Yes.
I want to beat you. I'm not here to be second.
I love
second
that. Second
is just first loser. I am Max
Let's go.
Verstappen. If anyone
Let's
listens to
get it.
F1 or watches F1, Max Verstappen is my guy because all he's interested in is number one.
He's a killer.
He is.
He is.
And he's like super nice off the track. But when you're on the track, it's good luck, everyone else. I'm winning. It's my guy.
It, Francis. I love it.
So that's the future. I want to be number one on everything.
Yeah, let's go. That's awesome. Bring it on. I mean,
yeah, no.
Let's go.
Full respect. If you beat me 1 year, I'll be like, I hate you. I love you. I'll beat you next year. It's great.
Hey,
let's do it.
I'll be the first person to congratulate you.
Nice. I will also send you congratulations while also planning to knife you.
Yeah, I'll be like, thank you. And
duck
I'll be like, what even?
Exactly. Watch you back.
So good. My last question. What does a wealth mean to you?
Wealth is choice. Wealth is control over your own life, control over your destiny, and choice to say, these are the things that matter to me in my life, and I will not compromise on those. And it often does take money to protect that. Yeah. And it took money to walk away from that job where I felt like I was being deeply disrespected. So I couldn't have done that without a level of financial independence. Now, I'm not the level of financial independence where I can just choose to never work again. Yep. But I am the level of financial independence where I could walk away and figure it out and just leap into the unknown. And I have never... I mean, it was terrifying, but I have never felt wealthier in that moment than being able to be like, screw you, I'm doing this on my terms and you don't get to treat me like this. Yeah, it was so gratifying. And having the option to do that, having the option to protect my family, to work from home, to see my kids every day. I do pick up and drop off every day. I hang out with my husband every day. He's going to be joining me in the business now, which is amazing. I see my mum and my stepdad at least weekly. I see my in-laws all the time. My life is so full of people I love and care about. And I get to do work that is meaningful to me. Yeah. And all of that is fueled by money. You know?
True.
Yeah, it is this real thing that I've never earned mega bucks, but I have managed to put my money to work in a way where every little step ahead that I make was like an extra brick in a wall that kept out the bad things in life. And that wall is pretty high now. And I started, 7-8 years ago?
Yeah, wow.
And if you'd have told me at the beginning of this where we'd end up, I wouldn't have believed you because it's so night and day. But I just want to say to anyone who's listening, who's maybe on a lower income, there are things you can do that will protect you. There's low-hanging fruit that will really, really help you. And every step you take forward makes the next step easier. So you could look at something and be like,
that's cool.
That's out of my reach. That's not possible. Okay, but take the next step that is possible. And the ones after that will be so much easier. It's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Man, that's awesome. Frances, thank you so much for coming on Fresh Money.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, and I wish you all the very best and all the success that you deserve and that is due to come your way.
Because I can, so much.
No worries, I can feel your passion for this industry, and so I think, I know. Feel like you'll be successful in whatever you do. So,
thank you. Can I just say as well, like all jokes aside on, wanting to knife you, I love seeing your success and I love seeing more people come into this space. Yeah. I think it's so important. There will be people who don't identify with my way of doing things. They might identify with the way that you talk about money. And I just think money and the stability it can bring is so important. I just love seing the success that you're having. I still want to be number one, but I'd be very happy if you're number two.
Likewise.
Yeah, nice.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, mate.